Hi everybody, welcome to Canvas tutorial. Welcome to the crash course of GATE 2021. And you know that this GATE is to some extent different from others because in this year you will find multiple selective question. That means the MSQ type of question. So from the beginning we have to give a closer attention to this kind of question, that how to approach, because in this case not only one option will be correct. There's a possibility that one or more than one option could be correct. It's not like that only more than one option will be correct. There could be one option correct answer, but there's a possibility that more than one option correct options will also be given. Suppose 2 or 3 or even in some special cases 4 or all of the 4 options will be correct. So suppose if any question among option A, B, C and D, option B, C and D are correct. Now suppose you have marked only option B and C, you haven't marked D, then you will not get any mark for that question. Suppose you have marked option A, okay, option A and option B, so this is also a wrong choice, so here also you will not get any mark. Now one positive aspect of this kind of question is that there is no negative marking, but point is that you have to mark each and every correct option, then only you get full marks, otherwise there is no scope for the part marking. Okay, so these are very important because you have to know the complete theory and you have to understand each and every option, you have to analyze each and every option. So now you have to chalk it out that how many options are correct. So that is the approach to towards this kind of question. And in GATE examination, along with your MCQ, there are some NAT type of questions, numerical answer type, where some value you should write. There will be a range of that, and if you write down the value in the correct range, then you will get the full marks. And in NAT type of question also there is no negative marking, only negative marking is in case of the MCQ. So this is the pattern of GATE. This year they have included MSQ, okay, along with the MCQ and NAT, MSQ will be there, that means multiple selective option will be correct. Let's start our first question. Now remember, whenever this kind of correct or incorrect statement is asked, then you have to just focus on this term. They have asked the incorrect option. So first you should analyze the option whether it is correct or not, then you have to find that how many options are incorrect. Clear? Now just go through all the options. The first option says that phosphorescence is not spin allowed transition. The second question says inter-system crossing is slower than the phosphorescence. The relaxation time of the absorption is greater than that of the phosphorescence. And in the fourth option, phosphorescence is radiative process unlike fluorescence. So these all 4 options have come from only one diagram, which is called the Jablonski diagram. Jablonski diagram. And that Jablonski diagram basically give you the idea about the basic photochemistry. It's a part of photochemistry. Whenever a molecule is irradiated with some radiation having the energy h mu, then how it gets excited and how it emits energy. Okay, so this is the basic depiction of the Jablonski diagram. If you remember the diagram, it was something like this. It is a ground state, which is S0, singlet ground state. It is excited state, singlet excited state, S1, and there was something triplet excited state, T1, and there will be some other options, okay, S1, S2 in this way, and T1, T2. So this is the basic schematic diagram of the Jablonski diagram, where if radiation h mu is on the singlet ground state, okay, so what will happen? The first case is the excitation. This is basically the excitation process. It is excited to the higher singlet state. From the ground state, it is also S denotes the singlet state. Over here, S is singlet state and T denotes triplet state. Now, generally, triplet state has lower energy as compared to the singlet state. Okay, suppose if first excited state is singlet, then it is denoted as S1, and first excited state, if it is triplet, then it is denoted as T1. Then you can find that T1 is of lower energy. Compare these two levels, S1 and T1. T1 is of lower energy, and that is why it is written in this manner. Clear? Now from this S2 it can relax to S1. This kind of relaxation is called the internal crossing, IC. And from S1 it can be relaxed to T1. Okay, so this is also another type of relaxation. So this kind of relaxation is called the ISC. So IC for internal crossing, and ISC is inter-system crossing. Now both of them are non-radiative. This kind of relaxation occurs, but there is no radiation of the energy we can detect from outside. Clear? So from S2 to S1, or suppose T2 to T1, this kind of transition between the same spin multiplicity, that means from singlet to singlet or triplet to triplet, they are called the internal crossing. But whenever there is a change in the multiplicity, that means from singlet to triplet, this kind of relaxation is called the ISC or intersystem crossing. It could occur from S2 to T2 or S1 to T1. In this way this can occur. So all of these possibilities are nothing but your non-radiative process. Now there are some radiative process. The radiative process like from S1 to S0. So from S1 to S0, this kind of transition when occur, it is called the fluorescence. It is fluorescence, F. And whenever T1 to S0, this transition occur, it is called the phosphorescence, which is denoted over here P. So F is for fluorescence and P is nothing but your phosphorescence. Now point is that for A, for fluorescence, it is a transition from S1 to S0. That means from singlet excited state to singlet ground state. So there is no change in the spin. So it is spin allowed because there is no change in spin. But for phosphorescence, it is from T1 to S0. So there is a spin change over here. So it is nothing but your spin forbidden. Okay, it is spin forbidden. And these two processes, both fluorescence and phosphorescence, are your radiative process. Radiative process. Radiative means you will find the radiation. You can detect the radiation from outside. Now there is one more point. What is the rate of these processes? Okay. So if you compare the rate of this process, then you will find that absorption has highest rate. That means from this transition, these are nothing but the absorption. Okay. Absorption is of highest rate. Then the rate of internal crossing or intersystem crossing, and they are more or less equal rate. Now then there will be the rate of the fluorescence. Okay, and phosphorescence is of the slowest step. Why this is so? Because phosphorescence is the only process where the spin is getting changed from T1 to S0. This kind of spin forbidden transition is occurring. So this is why its rate is very slow. Now you must remember one more point, that this rate is inversely proportional to the relaxation time. This relaxation time is nothing but inversely proportional to rate. So whatever the order of rate, just opposite will be the order of the relaxation time. So over here phosphorescence has the highest relaxation time, then fluorescence, then IC or ISC, and then absorption. Clear? This is the order of the relaxation time. Now once we have drawn all the things, now it's very much clear to us that what will be the option. So first option says that phosphorescence is not spin allowed. Look at the first option. It says that phosphorescence is not spin allowed. Now from here we can see that it is a phosphorescence which is from T1 to S0. So phosphorescence is basically from T1 to S0, which is obviously not spin allowed. isn't it? So it is a correct option. Now don't mark this one because over here incorrect option is asked. So this cannot be our, we cannot mark this one. We cannot mark this one because it is correct. Now second option is that inter-system crossing is slower than phosphorescence. You can see over here, if you follow the rate, the inter-system crossing is faster than phosphorescence. Phosphorescence is the slowest step. So this is the incorrect. This option is incorrect. So we can mark this one. Now we have to check other options as well. Now the relaxation time for absorption is greater than that of the phosphorescence. Here you can see that phosphorescence has highest relaxation time and absorption process has lowest relaxation time. So over here it says that absorption is greater relaxation time. So it is wrong. So it is also an incorrect option. So your question, they have asked how many incorrect options are there. So this will be also your another selection for this question. So you can select option B and option C. You can't select option A because that one is the correct one. Now it says that phosphorescence is radiative process. Of course, right? Unlike fluorescence. Now this term is very, very important. Unlike. You can see over here fluorescence is radiative process. So it would have been a correct option if it says that like fluorescence. So phosphorescence is radiative process like fluorescence. If in option you are given with that option that phosphorescence is radiative process like fluorescence, then that would be a correct option. But over here it says that unlike fluorescence. So it is not the correct statement. It is also an incorrect statement. Because both phosphorescence and fluorescence are radiative and they are just like transition. So they both are radiative transition. So phosphorescence is radiative process like fluorescence. Here unlike is given. So it is also an incorrect option. So your choice will be option B, C and D. So you will choose this one, option B, option C and option D. So this is the answer for this question, B, C, D. So let's move on to this question. Once again, it's a very important question. It says that which of the following plots is or are the straight line, it will be straight line with positive slope and a positive y-axis intercept. So it will be something like that. If this is the x-axis and it is the y-axis, it will be a straight line with positive slope with a y-intercept. Now point is that what is the expression for the second order kinetics? So if you know that I have already given you in this formula that knt is nothing but 1 by n minus 1 by at to the power n minus 1 minus a0 to the power n minus 1. So this was the basic formula to get the rate expression for any order reaction except first order reaction. Over here n will be the order of the reaction. N is the order of the reaction and at is the reactant concentration at time t and A0 is the initial reactant concentration. Okay. Kn is nothing but the rate constant and T is the time. Clear? Fine. Now from here what I can say that for second order reaction, n has a value of 2. So from here I can say that K2T is 2 minus 1 1. So it will be 2 minus 1 by At to the power 2 minus 1 minus 1 by A0 to the power 2 minus 1. Now 2 minus 1 is nothing but 1. So I can erase it. Now 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this is the expression for the rate. Now what I can see that from here I can say that this 1 by At is nothing but 1 by A0 plus K2T. I am just getting this 1 by At to right hand side to left hand side and K2T in the right hand side. So we are getting this kind of expression. So it is basically 1 by concentration at time t is the 1 by concentration at time 0, that means the initial concentration, plus K2, that is the rate constant, into time. Clear? So from this expression, if I start to plot 1 by concentration with time, we are getting it's like y is equals to mx plus c. So over here there's a y-intercept, which is basically this one, 1 by initial concentration, and it's a slope. Slope is K2 and it is a positive slope. So the straight line will be something like this. So whenever 1 by concentration versus time is plotted, we are getting this kind of positive slope and positive y-axis intermediate, a straight line. So option B is your correct option. So option B is your correct option. Now let's check option A, because it's also of the second order reaction. It says that what's the relation between T half and 1 by C. Now point is that for second order reaction, expression for T half is 1 by initial concentration A0 into K. Now you have to remember this formula, you have to remember these all formula, like the T half for the zero order reaction when n equals to 0, then the T half will be your A0 by 2K. When n equals to 1, then it's 0.693 by K, independent of the initial concentration. When it's 2, it is 1 by A0K. When it is 3, it is 3 by 2 A0 square K. Okay, so these are the expression for the T half. You have to remember these all expressions. Frequently questions asked from these expressions. So from here what you can see that T half is inversely proportional to the 1 by A0. So if I give the plot T half versus 1 by concentration, okay, 1 by concentration, basically it will be the initial concentration basically. Okay, so there's a problem with it will be initial concentration anyway. So 1 by initial concentration, then what you can see over here also, whenever there will be a comparison, that is a comparison between the initial concentration. So there's a correction. There's a correction in the question. It will be basically the initial concentration. Okay, fine. Whenever there will be comparison with the T half, you must remember that only the comparison between the initial concentration can occur. You can draw the direct relationship between them. Now point is that whenever T half versus 1 by initial concentration, which is the A0 basically, you can plot, it will be a straight line, but it passed through the origin. Okay, it's basically y equals to mx, this kind of expression. So this is a reaction with a positive slope, but there is no positive intercept. So your option A cannot be the you cannot choose option A. You can choose option B. We have already seen. Now what is the relation between the T half and the initial concentration for first order reaction? Now remember that first order reaction is independent to A0, that means the initial concentration. So whenever initial concentration is given, so there will be a straight line. So we can see that T half and initial concentration for first order reaction, a straight line parallel to the x-axis, and that is why what you can see that this cannot be your option. Okay, fine. Now let's check the option number 4, which is a little bit different, and it says that for enzyme catalyzed reaction, enzyme catalyzed means enzyme plus substrate, they are in equilibrium to form a enzyme substrate complex, and from here you are getting the product. So suppose it is K1, it is K inverse, and it is K2. For this kind of reaction, what is the rate expression? You can say that rate of the reaction is nothing but the R max, which is the maximum rate, into the concentration of the substrate, which is basically this one, divided by concentration of the substrate plus Km. This Km is basically the Michaelis Menten constant. Okay, and expression for the Michaelis Menten constant is K2 plus K inverse 1 by K1. This is the expression for the Michaelis Menten constant. Fine. So what you can see that from here if you get 1 by R, it will be something like this: S plus Km divided by R max into S. So it will be 1 by R max plus Km by R max into 1 by S. So this is your expression. So if you plot 1 by R versus 1 by S, so you will get a slope, okay, slope like this, and this will be your intercept. It is something like this: y is equals to mx plus c. So this expression has a slope of Km by R max, and the intercept is 1 by R max. So this kind of plot 1 by R versus 1 by concentration of S, which will give you the straight line having a y-intercept. So from the intercept you are getting the maximum rate of the reaction. Now this kind of plot is called the Lineweaver-Burk plot. It is basically the Lineweaver-Burk plot. Okay, fine. So from here what you can see that 1 by rate versus 1 by substrate concentration for an enzyme catalyzed reaction. This is also your correct option. So your option number D is correct and option number B is correct in this case. This T half is not correct. Here also it is not correct. This is a very simple question. You have to read line by line carefully. That for A plus B forming C, for the above reaction, if the concentration of A is halved keeping B constant, the overall rate is halved. But when the concentration of B is doubled, then overall rate is increased by 4 times. So what does it imply? It says that if the concentration of A is halved, then overall rate is also halved. So rate actually depends upon, is proportional to the concentration of A. If it is getting halved, then also rate is halved. So we can say that this is nothing but the proportional to A. And it says that if the concentration of B is of 2 times, if you double the rate of the if you double the concentration of the B, then rate is increased by 4 times. So you can think that rate is proportional to the concentration of B square, because if B suppose B is doubled, so if now instead of B you are taking 2B, now if you take the square, you are getting 2 square 4B square. So it is basically 4 times. So whenever rate is proportional to the square of the B, then you can see this kind of relationship. So from these two expression we can say that overall rate is proportional to concentration of A and square of the B. So it will be some rate constant K, concentration of A and square of the B. Okay, so if you check the options, the first option says the rate constant of the reaction has a unit. Now how can we determine the unit of the rate constant? The rate constant unit is the concentration to the power 1 minus n time inverse, where n is the order of the reaction. Okay, now concentration could be your molar concentration. So molar to the power n minus n time inverse. So molar is nothing but mole per liter. Okay, now it is the overall the power of A is 1, so it is the first order with respect to A, and power of B is 2, so it's second order with respect to B. So overall order, it is a third order reaction. It's a third order reaction. So the unit of rate constant will be molar to the power 1 minus 3, and in case of time you can just take second, so it's second inverse. So 1 minus 3 is nothing but your minus 2. So it's molar to the power minus 2 second inverse. So this is the unit of the rate constant. So your option number A is correct option. Okay. Now it says that if B is the solvent of the reaction, then overall rate follows the second order kinetics. Now whenever B is solvent, in any special case, if you think B is solvent, then B will be remaining in such a large extent that we cannot just write down the rate expression in this way. Whenever some reactant is present in very large extent, then we can just assume that the overall concentration of B is remaining same, because it's present in a very large extent with respect to the concentration of A. So A reacts with some amount of B and producing C, but B is present in such a large extent that there will be no effective change in the B. So we can ignore the change. It will be very minor change. So now we will not consider the contribution of B. So for this case, the rate is nothing but some rate constant into A. So it's now a first order kinetics. So if B is a solvent, then the overall rate follows the second order kinetics. So it's not the correct option. It will be the first order kinetics. So it is incorrect. Option number B is incorrect. Option number C says if in a special case B is a solvent, the reaction then the overall rate follows the first order kinetics. We have just seen that it is following the first order kinetics. So it is a correct option. And it says that half-life of the overall reaction is independent of the initial concentration of the reactant. Now this overall reaction means this one when there is no condition. So B is not solvent. So you have to just follow the initial expression. That means this one. So for this case, it is a third order kinetics, and for third order reaction, of course, T half is inversely proportional to the square of the initial concentration of the reactant, because you know that for third order reaction it is 3 by 2 A0 square K. So this is something like this, okay. Although over here there are two types of reactants are present, but still there will be some contribution of the initial concentration of the reactants. So it is dependent on the initial concentration of reactants, inversely proportional to the square of them. So what you can see that it is also your incorrect option. So it is your incorrect option. So your correct option is option number C and option number A. So A and C, you have to mark A and C to get the full marks. Fine. So moving on to our fourth question. Well, it's a question from your unimolecular reaction that proceeds via activated complex. One strategy to solve this kind of question is that just read all the options carefully so that you can understand that from which topic they have asked the question. This question is asked from the activated complex theory. Now, for activated complex theory, I want to give you some basic idea about that. That actually what happens to this activated complex theory. So let's take a closer look to the activated complex theory. Here what happens, suppose two reactants A and B combine with each other to produce a activated complex. This activated complex is nothing but your transition state, or it is basically your activated complex. Activated complex means it is such a state when the reactants are activated and they are performing the reaction. Okay. The equilibrium constant of this step is K daggered. Now from this activated complex with some other rate constant K2, they are forming the product. Okay. Now point is that if the overall rate constant is K, then it can be denoted as equilibrium rate constant of the activated complex formation, that means the K daggered, this is the equilibrium constant, into Kb into T by H. It is a Boltzmann constant. Kb is nothing but your Boltzmann constant. It is your Boltzmann constant. This is the expression for the rate constant. Fine. So from here this k dagger, let's take this k dagger and how to find out the expression for this. Now you know that for your equilibrium condition, delta G0, okay, delta G0 is nothing but your minus RT ln k equilibrium. From here you can say that k equilibrium is e to the power minus delta G0 by RT. So following this expression, you can say that k daggered is nothing but your e to the power minus delta G0 daggered by RT. Okay. Now what we can see that in this expression, I can say that rate constant k is nothing but e to the power minus delta G0 daggered by RT into kB T by H. So this is the expression. Okay, fine. Now what I can see that rate constant k is nothing but your e to the power minus delta G0 daggered by RT into kB into T by H. This is the expression for the rate constant. Fine. Okay. Now, in case of delta G0 daggered, you can write it is delta H0 daggered minus T delta S0 daggered. Okay. Because you know delta G is nothing but delta H minus T del S. So, expression for this one will be e to the power minus of delta H0 daggered minus T delta S0 daggered divided by RT into kBT by H. kBT by H. Now you can write it is e to the power minus delta H0 daggered by RT into e to the power it is minus minus plus, so it will be plus T delta S0 daggered by RT. So TT cancel out, this TT cancel out, so you are getting expression like this and kBT by H. So this will be your overall expression for the rate constant. Okay. Now it says that for unimolecular reaction. So unimolecular reaction means you can think that instead of A plus B forming this AB, there's a unimolecular, suppose A2, okay, only one molecule is there. Now in the activated complex, there is a breaking of this bond. So this is for the unimolecular reaction. This is for the unimolecular reaction. So in this case, what you can see that over here in transition state, the bond is getting broken. Bond is getting broken. So for this kind of reaction, when the transition state is forming, this is the equilibrium. It is basically the transition state or the activated complex. In this case, what you can see that delta S0, okay, delta S0 dagger, which is the entropy change for the first step or the for the step which is forming the activated complex, which is basically greater than 0, because over here randomness increases. But you should know the fact that for other reactions like your for bimolecular or trimolecular, these reactions delta S0 dagger will always be negative. But over here, because over there are two entities which are combining to form a single entity, so over here delta S is getting negative. But for the unimolecular, this is a special case where delta S0, that means the entropy change will be positive. So for unimolecular reaction, if you check the option number 1, option A, the unimolecular reaction that proceed via activated complex has positive entropy change for the equilibrium state of the formation of the activated complex. So it is your correct option. So your option number A is your correct option. Okay. Now the second and third option is from the vibrational degree of freedom for the activated complex. Now point is that how to determine the vibrational degrees of freedom. So for the determination of the vibrational degrees of freedom, you should know the fact that if n is the atomicity, if n is the atomicity of any substance or in any sample, now you can see that total degree of freedom, total DOF, degree of freedom, is 3n. Among them, translational degree of freedom will be always 3. For rotational degrees of freedom, it is 2 for linear and 3 for non-linear. And your vibrational degrees of freedom will be your 3n minus these two, translational degrees of freedom minus rotational degrees of freedom. Okay, you can think like that. Now for translational degrees of freedom, it is 3 is the translational degrees of freedom. So you can say that, so 3 plus 2 is 5, so it is 3n minus 5 for linear molecule, and it will be 3n minus 6 because for non-linear there will be 3 rotational degrees of freedom and 3 translational degrees of freedom. So it is for the non-linear case. Clear? So for this kind of calculation, you will easily tick that for linear case the vibrational degrees of freedom will be 3n minus 5, and you will think that this is the correct option, isn't it? But it is your wrong choice. Basically it is incorrect. It is incorrect. Why? Because of this term, linear activated complex. You must remember that for activated complex, 1 vibrational degrees of freedom, 1 vibrational degrees of freedom of activated complex, okay, is changed into translational degrees of freedom. So for activated complex, for linear case, what you can see that it was initially 3n minus 5 was the initial number of the vibrational degrees of freedom. Now we have to subtract 1 from it because 1 vibrational degrees of freedom is converted into the translational degrees of freedom for activated complex. So it will be your 3n minus 6. It's for linear case, and for non-linear case, it will be 3n minus 7. So your correct option will be your option number B. So this is your correct option, option B, not the option C. Option C is incorrect. Now the option D says that from the activated complex theory, we get into the fact that pre-exponential factor also temperature dependent. It says that what will be the expression for the pre-exponential factor. Now in order to do that, what we can see, we have to just erase all of the rest of the part. Okay, now we have to focus on this expression. This is the expression for the rate constant. Now delta H 0, you can write it daggered, you can write it is as delta E0 daggered plus P delta V daggered. Now instead of plus P delta V daggered, you can write it plus RT nRT plus delta Ng. For the gaseous reaction, you know that PV is equals to nRT, so delta Ng RT. And for delta E daggered, you can write it in the expression like EA minus RT. So you have to remember that for delta E, it's a energy change for this reaction. So it is basically the EA, activation energy, minus RT, Ng and plus delta Ng RT. So it is basically EA plus delta Ng minus 1 RT. So it's the expression for the delta H0. So for minus delta H0 daggered by RT, what you can say that it is basically minus EA by RT minus delta Ng minus 1 RT cancel out. So it is basically minus EA by RT minus delta ng minus 1. So now just put this expression into this one, minus delta H0 by RT. So it will be e to the power minus EA by RT and minus delta Ng minus 1 into e to the power delta H0 is daggered by R into KBT by H. Okay. Now from here what I can say that the expression for k is nothing but e to the power minus EA by RT into e to the power minus delta Ng minus 1 into e to the power delta H0 daggered RT into KBT by H. Now excluding this e to the power minus EA by RT, if we take this one, so it is, you can write it in this way that it is basically your KBT by H into e to the power minus delta Ng minus 1 e to the power delta H0 daggered by R into e to the power minus EA by RT. So this is the expression for the rate constant k. Now for from the Arrhenius equation you can say that a rate constant k is A, which is a pre-exponential factor, into e to the power minus EA by RT. So comparing these two, you can see this is the expression for the pre-exponential factor. This is the expression for pre-exponential factor. So we can say that for pre-exponential factor, it is a temperature dependent, because this one is the temperature term T. So from this option you can say that from activated complex theory we get into the fact that the pre-exponential factor is also temperature dependent. So it is also your correct option. It is another your correct option. So your correct options are option number A, which is a correct option, then your option number B, okay, option number B, and your option number D. So your option A, B and D are your correct options. Clear? Okay, for this question, it's the last question. It says that find out the correct statement. According to the Lindemann unimolecular mechanism, gaseous reaction, the overall rate is of second order at high pressure of A. Now, here I am going to give you the information that for Lindemann mechanism, okay, Lindemann mechanism, at low pressure, the overall rate is of your second order, okay, low pressure of the reactant, and at the high pressure of the reactant, the rate will be of your first order. So in some previous years you will find this question as well. So for low pressure, the order is second order. So it is said like this, that overall rate is of second order. So it says that overall rate is second order at the high pressure of A, isn't it? So high pressure of A means it's a reactant. So when reactant is of high pressure, then the overall order will be your first order, not the second order. Okay. So it is your incorrect option. It is your incorrect option. Now second point is that the value of the maximum rate of enzyme catalyzed can be calculated, can be determined from the intercept of both Lineweaver-Burke plot and Addy-Hofsey plot. Addy-Hofsey plot is R versus R by substrate. So let's take a look at that, how these two plots will look like. So initially we had seen that in this option, okay, this was a Lineweaver-Burke plot. Look at this. For Lineweaver-Burke plot, we plotted 1 by R versus 1 by S, and it was something like this. So I'm just copying it over here. Okay, for this case, what I can say that if I write the Lineweaver-Burke plot, so it will be 1 by R versus 1 by S, that is the substrate concentration. So it will be a straight line with a intercept, positive intercept. So over here the intercept is 1 by R max, which is the maximum rate, and slope will be your Km, that is the Michaelis-Menten constant, by R max. So it is we get from the Lineweaver-Burke plot. We had discussed it earlier. So the value of the maximum rate of the enzyme, okay, maximum rate of the enzyme catalyzed reaction can be determined from the intercept. Look at this, this is the intercept of both Lineweaver-Burke plot and Addy-Hofsey plot. Now from Lineweaver-Burke plot we can determine it. So now let's check the Addy-Hofsey plot. What is about Addy-Hofsey plot? It is basically the rate versus rate by substrate concentration. This is the Addy-Hofsey plot. Now you can see that if you just deduce the expression, the rate has a rate expression R max S by S plus Km, isn't it? So from here what you can say that it is R into S plus Km, okay, equals to R max into S. So it is basically your R into S plus R into Km as the expression of R max into concentration of S. Now if you divide both the side with the concentration of S, so it will be removed, and you will get something like this S. Now taking this in the right hand side, so you are getting R is equals to R max minus Km R by S, okay. So from here what you can see that if you plot R versus R by S, so it is a reaction with a negative slope, okay, negative slope. The slope is nothing but your minus Km, and the intercept is your R max, intercept is R max, okay. Fine. So from here we can see that intercept, slope is minus Km and intercept is R max. So from the intercept of Addy-Hofsey plot I can easily determine the maximum rate. So maximum rate or R max, so it is of your correct option, okay. Now for enzyme catalyzed reaction, when substrate concentration is low, so what is the unit of the overall rate constant? So first determine the what will be the order of the reaction. So it says that for enzyme catalyzed reaction, so at low concentration of substrate it is of first order, and for high concentration of substrate it is of second order, it is of zero order, sorry, it is of zeroth order at high concentration of substrate. So it says that enzyme catalyzed reaction when the substrate concentration is low, so it is of a first order reaction rate, okay. So first order reaction rate constant has a unit of time inverse, and this is given, so this is also a correct, this is also option number C is also a correct option. Now it says that the value of the Michaelis-Menten constant can be determined from the slope for both Lineweaver-Burke plot and the Addy-Hofsey plot. Now Addy-Hofsey plot has a slope of minus Km. From this slope I can easily determine the value of the Michaelis-Menten constant. But from the Lineweaver-Burke plot the slope is Km by R max. So by only looking at the slope I cannot determine the value of the Michaelis-Menten constant. We have to just divide the slope with the intercept, then only we can get the Michaelis-Menten constant. So the value of the Michaelis-Menten constant cannot be determined only from the slope of this Lineweaver-Burke plot. It can be determined from Addy-Hofsey plot, but not from the Lineweaver-Burke plot. For Lineweaver-Burke plot we have to divide the slope with the intercept. So I can say that it is also your incorrect option. So it's also your incorrect option. So your correct option will be option number C and option number C and option number B. Okay, these two are your correct option. So now you have to choose option B and C. Okay. So that's all for today. In the next lecture we will be solving some numerical answer type question from the chemical kinetics, and then we will move on to some other topic of physical chemistry. Thank you. Happy learning.